Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Okay, Judd's camp notes. The first of 2 editions of Purple Daily today, because Judd also has a 53-man roster projection 3.0 that will drop in your Purple Daily podcast feeds, Apple, Spotify, and YouTube as well. So it's a busy day in Purple Daily land here with the Vikings traveling to Cleveland. We've got JJ McCarthy. Not so good news. We'll have to see. People are mad at Sports Dad for painting too negative of a picture.
Yes.
So we have a lot of things to get to here. But you saw on the intro of the YouTube edition here, maybe you saw that glorious Roku TV in our new intro. Well, Roku is America's #1 TV streaming platform, offering streaming players a new line of smart TVs, all to access your favorite platforms, whether they're free or premium TV platforms, live news and sports. Go to Roku.com to learn more and shop at a retailer near you in the Twin Cities or wherever you are consuming Purple Daily. The new Roku Pro Series 4K TV automatically adjusts your shows and sporting events with Smart Picture Max.
Football.
Roku.com to learn more, or just go stare at one inside of a local retailer near you. Or you could win one on the Score North app. That's right. We're giving away a 75-inch Roku Pro Series 4K TV that automatically does all those things that I just mentioned. Adjust your color, adjust your sharpness, gives you access to sports, news, entertainment, whatever you want. Nearly an $1,800 value. We're giving away a 75-inch Roku TV inside the Score North app. Listener rewards section. We'll give it away at the end of the month. So, Judd's camp notes. Okay, give it to us.
All right.
Season ending.
Oh,
amputation.
So why can't
career
we just,
threatening.
Bilateral leg weakness?
Why can't we just go to a training camp press conference this time of year and just get a, hey, nothing's going on, nothing to see here, literally nothing to
so
see
dumb.
here.
And even and I know this is a Viking show, but last night you sit down after a Monday work day, you're a Minnesota sports fan, you're feeling pretty good about life, generally, right?
Yes.
And then you find out that JJ McCarthy isn't practicing, that Dallas Turner isn't practicing, and that Byron Buxton gets removed in the middle of a game in which you're beating the Royals. Like we can't just smooth sail it for a few months. It's too much to ask.
I know. It's absolutely incredible. And McCarthy, we're all coming off Saturday, right? Which I think, unless you thought that one pick was like the biggest failure of a man's career and was going to end him, Saturday was fantastic. Like, this guy played approximately 30 snaps, looked great for his age, looked even better, I thought. And then we get to the Kevin O'Connell press conference pre-night practice last night. And he starts talking about, the last training camp practice with fans. That's been a great training camp, all of the usual stuff. And then he brings up the fact that JJ McCarthy arrived at the building it sounds like on Monday, and reported some right knee soreness. According to O'Connell, he was held out for precautionary reasons. Okay, that's fine. That's the standard thing to say. The Vikings medical staff will conduct further evaluation, O'Connell went on to say, to determine if McCarthy can travel with the team to Cleveland for the joint practices this week. O'Connell did allude to the fact that it sounded like McCarthy was going to get, now we don't know the approximation of how many first-team reps last night. Heck, he might have got first-team reps against the Browns. Like, these practices are big. They are a big part of the preseason process. Let me read you the O'Connell quote, though, and then sort of explain how things went down with Sports Dad on Twitter last night.
Dude.
And just provide a little bit of a tutorial on how this sort of works, okay?
I love Sports Dad rushing over to do a selfie video to update people on the news, and just gets absolutely.
Well, I got crushed more for my tweet than I did, I think, the video. But the video, okay. I thought, hey, I'm going to get this out there. People care about this. And anyways, among O'Connell's quotes, he said, "Out of precaution, we're going to continue an evaluation on McCarthy and get some more testing done. He's a very important player, obviously, so we want to make sure we're smart about it before he participates in practices, making sure we have a good understanding of where he is at." Okay? So in one sense, he's trying to lessen the panic, but in another, he's flat out saying, we don't know exactly why. Now, keep in mind, knee soreness is, yes, there is a normal amount of soreness, but this is a 21-year-old kid who I don't think if he comes in and it's just like, I'm sort of sore, they say, you're not practicing. So here's what I tweeted out. JJ McCarthy's knee soreness is clearly a concern, and listening to O'Connell address it, you get the feeling that even the Vikings aren't quite sure about the potential severity yet. Obviously, the fact he might not travel to Cleveland indicates there is real worry.
I feel like people are killing the messenger here a little bit with you, because you want to feel so good and you want to keep riding this high from Saturday.
Agree.
And here you come in using a little bit of educated speculation, just having covered football for 20, 30 years, and you've seen a few things in your time, and you're just interpreting the way that you know how, and people don't want to hear it.
And I didn't say it's severe. I said potential severity. They're taking precautions because they don't know. And anytime it involves a knee. Now, let's be very clear here. Nobody is saying he tore a ligament, okay? And no one is saying that this is season ending. But when you have knee soreness a couple of days after, it can mean a lot of things. It can mean a meniscus. It can mean nothing. JJ McCarthy, to me, from what I've been told, is a tough kid, though. So he's not going to come in and say, my knee hurts, unless it hurts him. The other problem that I encountered was I immediately got a bunch of notes saying, look at what O'Connell said. The beat guys are putting out what O'Connell said. Yes, they are. And they should. This is no criticism of them. But it is my job to have some interpretation of what he's saying in full, which is it's minor soreness, we think, but we don't know for sure. And he might not travel to very important practices. So I am hoping as much as all of you, he is fine. This is fun. I want to see him play. But I also can't dismiss what I have learned through years, which is, and Phil and Dex, you both know this as well. Coaches and managers talk in code of, here's what we're hoping. We don't want it to be serious, but if we're going to sit him and do examinations, that does not mean we're blowing it off. Fair?
Yeah, I think, although I'll steal a quote from one of your favorite movies, from the great Steven Seagal. And maybe I'm going to butcher this, but fear of death is much more...
Anticipation.
The anticipation of death
is worse than death itself.
Is worse than death itself. The anticipation of bad injury is sometimes worse than the actual injury. So I'm not going to sit here and lose a bunch of sleep, Vikings fans. We'll get some information in the next 24 to 48 hours. He looked fine. He was running around, unless it happened on the last play or something.
No,
it's not like a torn ACL or anything serious. So.
Here's the confusion. So I don't know if people didn't hear this, but O'Connell made it very clear, because I saw tweets, well, he didn't come out of the game, so he's fine. This is a residual knee problem. He didn't have a problem in the game. He never came to the sideline and said, my knee hurts. And they said, you're going back out there, kid.
Okay.
He came in 2 days after. That's why, yes, it's not like a ligament or something. But we have seen this, and I'm throwing it out there as something we've seen, like with meniscuses, things like that flare up.
You're saying it could be a degenerative chronic problem like Byron Buxton, and his career could be derailed before it even begins.
I hope to
when
God
I reread your tweet, that's what I interpret.
I hope to God it's nothing. I just thought the pushback was hilarious, given the fact that they are clearly concerned. So we'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully we get an update soon. Hopefully it's nothing. I would not be surprised if he does not go now, though, because they clearly, if they were going to hold him out of a very tame practice on Monday night, I'm guessing they're not going to put him through, if there's any worry at all, the strenuous activity of a joint practices. It'd be great if he could take part, but it feels like they're going to be cautious here. And let me just say this. I agree with being cautious if there's a problem.
I feel like Minnesota sports fans already get jaded with guys who are constantly injured, the Byron Buxtons of the world, the Royce Lewises of the world, and then they see their shiny new toy that they just opened on Christmas morning, which is clearly JJ McCarthy.
Yep.
And there's already a possibly injury concern here, which is we don't know the severity, but people I don't think want to believe that their prize toy could potentially be hurt. And I'm with Judd. I don't think that this is a ligament tear. I don't think that this is a season-ending injury. but at the same time, it's worth monitoring. 100% is. It's football. Everyone gets hurt in football.
That's the thing. I think if this was a basketball player and, oh man, how is he going to possibly endure an 82-game season and a 2-month playoffs? In football, oftentimes guys are like Tom Brady didn't he have like elbow problems throughout his entire career, and he was on the injury report, and so it's I don't know.
Yep. So anyway, that's
now
the
can one more thing on this, and then we'll get to some other stuff and more Judd's camp notes. If he doesn't travel to Cleveland and participate in the joint practices, and if he doesn't play in the second preseason game, is it fair to say that the chances of him starting week 1, overtaking Sam Darnold, are next to 0? That this is a pretty critical week for him to, if he's going to jump Sam Darnold, right? Like it's not going to happen if he doesn't play this week.
Yes. I think if he doesn't play this week, because the odds probably weren't good to begin with. Like he was, I think he was challenging more than we expected, but I don't think that it had like swung it to where it was 50-50. So yeah, I would say if he doesn't take part this week, Darnold goes from we expected him to start to I think he's a lock to start.
Okay. Well, everyone calm down.
Yep. Well, look, it sucks because he's just fun to watch. And like that night, those people that showed up last night were there to see him. Now, I do have one great conspiracy theory that's been floated to me by 2 people who we all know. I'll leave them out of this just in case they don't want this public though, with their names attached. But it's very Zolgadian, and I did appreciate it, even if I don't agree it's probably the case. The conspiracy theory is O'Connell like, hold on a second here. Oh man, this is taking off. Night practice, all these fans are here. They're all going to be doing videos of JJ McCarthy.
Let's cool the temperature a little bit.
Too much excitement. Let's cool the temp. If he goes to Cleveland, I might go that direction. For now, I'm not. For now, I think this is legit. But that was thrown out by 2 people, and I, as a conspiracy guy myself, did appreciate that.
I love that theory. Because you wouldn't take it so far if he's not really hurt, but you just wanted to cool the temperature 48 hours after, people got all excited. You wouldn't take it so far as to not play him in these critical joint practices where he can get some valuable reps.
Correct.
So you're right. If he goes to Cleveland and plays at all this week, I buy that theory.
Yep.
If he doesn't, it would seem to be a legit injury. And this is the time of year where coaches don't have to put out injury reports. You can be as vague as you want to be. You can give as much, any information that he's giving you is like just him being a good guy, Kevin O'Connell.
It was going to be a light practice. They're like, this is getting out of control. If you play well tonight, God knows what's going to happen. Anyway,
calm it down.
He goes to Cleveland. I love this. If he doesn't, not so much.
Okay. All right, let's keep digging through here the camp notes.
As you said at the outset of the show, Phil, Dallas Turner also did not practice. I don't know why. In his press conference beforehand where he talked about McCarthy, O'Connell did not talk about Turner. I'm hard-pressed to think that in such a light practice, Turner got like a veteran rookie day off type of thing. I think he probably got banged up, but again, he played his ass off in the preseason game, so it wouldn't be surprising. They are being very precautionary, it feels like, because of how they've gone in camp. So I'm not concerned, but both first round picks were not on the field last night.
Okay.
Kevin O'Connell confirming Stefan Gilmore did visit. He didn't sign, said he got a look-see at our building, our culture, blah, blah, blah. What's unclear is, so the Vikings have confirmed this now, and it could, he could sign today. But what's unclear now is if Gilmore has an offer on the table from the Vikings, if he's going to go back. He's sort of in the driver's seat here, because if he wants to, he can wait another week or 2 to see if more cornerbacks go down and drive his price up. I think he's coming off a good enough year where he is clearly valued still. It's not like this desperation of, I got to sign. So we'll see. He could sign today. This could be a little bit more like, if you guys recall last year, Dalton Reisner came in really early in camp and didn't sign for a while. So we don't know, but this is the first confirmation by the Vikings that they did indeed have Gilmore in their building.
So let's talk about Gilmore for just a second. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it because if it happens, we'll do a full episode, recapping it. But he's about to turn 34 years old on September 19th, so he'd be one of the oldest cornerbacks in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, he was in a small handful of players who would be considered the best cornerback in all of football when he was at his peak with the New England Patriots, like 2017, 18, 2019, kind of in that range. How good is he now, though? So he's been with 4 different teams the last 4 years. He's just been a mercenary. His last year in New England was 2020, the pandemic year. Carolina 2021, Colts 2022, Dallas 2023, and then potentially Vikings in 2024.
Yep.
So according to Pro Football Focus, and by the way, he's durable, man. Like he's played over 1,000 snaps each of the last 2 years at age 32 and age 33.
Mm-hmm.
And according to Pro Football Focus, out of 100, this is last year, out of 132 qualified cornerbacks, he ranked in the 35 to 40 range in both overall grade and coverage grade. And then they also have a category, it's just passer rating against. So when you are targeted by an opposing quarterback, what is the passer rating of those quarterbacks? So like Duron Bland, for instance, who didn't he have like 6 pick sixes or something? He set the record for Dallas last year, who played across the field from Stefan Gilmore. So opposing quarterbacks had a 52.6 passer rating when targeting Duron Bland.
Wow.
And Jalen Ramsey was at like a 52.9, and Charvarius Ward was 63.7. Well, Stefan Gilmore, the last 3 years average, if we take ages 31, 32, 33, 85.5 is the passer rating when targeting him, which puts him again in the top like 35 to 36 in the NFL. He's no longer an elite quarterback like he was 5 years ago, but by pretty much every measurement that Pro Football Focus puts out, he is still a top 35 to 40 cornerback, and obviously every team is starting 2 or 3 depending on the package. So, I mean, I think even at 34, he'd immediately be your best cornerback in a room full of veterans and young guys and this hodgepodge that they've been rolling with.
I think the question is exactly that. Like, not is he the Stefan Gilmore that he was 5 to 8 years ago, which clearly he's not, but more importantly, how does he rank in your room?
Number 1.
Yeah, so like I think that's what they're considering, right?
And at his best, he played in that Belichick. Flores is borrowing Belichick defensive principles with the 3-4
cornerbacks. The quarterbacks right now, especially with Shaq Griffin out, and I did ask O'Connell about that last night, and he said we've got a plan, whether that involves him actually playing in a preseason game or just practices. But I mean, we don't know when he's back. And with Shaq Griffin out, I mean, the cornerback room or the cornerbacks on the field, it's trouble, man. It's trouble. If they can get Griffin back for the opener, Gilmore and Murphy, who, by the way, I don't love. Like, I don't see. I think he's just a jag.
He is.
So if you have those 3, I think you can be somewhat competitive there.
I think if your starting cornerbacks were Stefan Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, and Byron Murphy Jr., you're top half of the league. If you took everyone's cornerback group, you're at least top half of the league now. It's not a total train wreck. The problem is it's possible all 3 of those guys won't be on your team beyond 2024 based on their contracts. So you're still looking for long-term, younger solutions. But for this season, a stopgap, you can do a lot worse than Stefan Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, Byron Murphy Jr., and then some combination of like a Caleb Evans, maybe Fabian Moreau, Dwight McLaughlin might make the team, Jay Ward. I mean, there's some guys in there.
The Shaq Griffin thing that concerns me is he's not, he played for a couple of teams last year. He's not coming off a great year, and now he's been hurt, so we don't know what to expect. Like that, yes, Gilmore instantly gives you a credibility right now that I think that you lack. Aaron Jones, good news, back in pads, or I should say in shorts and a jersey, Shells. Last night, he missed the last 2 practices before the preseason game. He did not play in the preseason game, despite the fact the majority of the starters did. That's good news. I am guessing, though, that we have seen the last of the starters in preseason games. one, the joint practices against Cleveland are going to be enough for them to consider that like game reps. The other thing is, especially with the McCarthy thing, I think McCarthy would have played extensively against the Browns on Saturday. I think with this now, Darnold is going to be mothballed. So I would be surprised if we see Darnold. Certainly, I'll be shocked if we see him on Saturday. I would guess we might not see him in the final preseason game because there has to be, and I asked O'Connell about this last night. I said, what's the line of trying to play guys now, which a lot of teams are doing? Like starters are now playing more. What's the fine line you're walking with? It helps to get them reps, to get them prepared, but you don't want to get them hurt. Like that's the line you're walking.
I think you kind of nailed it here. It feels like the bulk of the work with the ones is going to take place Wednesday and Thursday in Cleveland, and then Saturday, Nick Mullins probably plays the first half. Jaron Hall probably plays the second half, right?
Yes, which they can justify because, Mullins is likely going to make the team, and there is a chance he is going to be the backup, and at least on September 7th or 8th against the Giants, and McCarthy's going to be 3. So yes, I think that's true, which means that if you are planning to watch the game on Saturday, catch the first half. If you want to duck out for the second half, you can.
It's going to be kind of
the Jaron Hall experience. We
kind of
don't
brutal.
know that we need that.
Before we keep going here on your camp notes, we should say hi to Federated here. Federated, you're talking about protecting quarterbacks, by the way. Hello, Federated.
Hi, Federated.
Want to make sure you protect your assets, your quarterbacks, and imagine being a business owner. You are like an NFL quarterback, and Federated is like your offensive line, offering frontline protection to help you avoid various risks and things that could be out on the horizon. So Federated has a rich history with roots in Minnesota. They're headquartered in Owatonna, dating back to 1904, and they measure the success of their business by the success of the business owners that they work with. Their goal is to elevate your success through risk management resources, all sorts of tools and information available at federatedinsurance.com. Federated's corporate culture is grounded in equity, integrity, teamwork, and respect. These 4 cornerstones create the foundation that supports all interactions and decision-making. You can find out more at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. And one of the best things you can do for people, maybe you're new to the podcast here, you're new to Score North, we always tell you guys, if you ask, how can we help you guys grow? How can we help spread the word about these podcasts? I mean, consuming them is number one. Thank you for those of you who consume Purple Daily, Score North Twin Show, Flagrant Howls, Judd's Hockey Show. But right there along with that is support our sponsors. We come on here and we get to turn the lights on and blab about football because we have these great partners. And so the best thing you can do on that front is support our sponsors and even send us videos and photos of you supporting our sponsors. For instance, maybe you contact Ugly Deck and they turn your ugly deck into a not so ugly deck. Send us a video, send us a photo.
Absolutely. And people might ask Sports Dad, Ugly Deck, why is it called that? It's a mission. Ugly Deck wants to rid the world of ugly decks. That is why uglydeck.com is the place to go. Book a free deck estimate this month and get 3 footings included. Just need a facelift for that deck? Get up to $1,000 off installation or a DIY deck package. For the DIYer, Ugly Deck can install your footings and ledger and save you from the mess and frustration on the hardest part of building a deck. Half of all Ugly Deck customers have never framed a deck before, but with a free coach and their DIY Video Academy, guess what? You can do it. It's like having Kevin O'Connell with JJ McCarthy, only your McCarthy. Ugly Deck folks are the coach. If you want the top carpenters and maintenance-free decks to build your entire deck, they build year-round, so book a free estimate today for a new deck. Go to uglydeck.com. Fall is coming. I will continue to say it. There is no better time to be outside. Perhaps you got a TV mounted. You got college football on. It's a nice chill day, and you're out there with a beer. But right now, you're like, oh, Sports Dad, my deck sucks. Uglydeck.com will fix that deck. And then send us a picture. And if you want, you can invite me. I can rate your deck, too, because
Judd will probably say no, but, it'll be a great
football
interaction.
Saturday, if you've got some Padres beer,
I mean,
Thor. I'd say no.
I've been on text threads where Thor has invited you probably 7 or 8 different times.
Yeah.
to watch big football games
Thorne
or
lives ways away from me. I'd like if you get an ugly deck, I'd like you to be like in
now it's coming
Edina,
up.
Here we go. Here's
Minnetonka,
your
St.
caveat.
Louis
yeah.
Park.
See, now if you're within a mile and a half of where Sports Dad lives, then he may consider it being your house.
Sports Dad can't enjoy the Padres if he has to drive. Then he's got to go. He's got to drink pop. That's for the
careful.
weekdays.
So okay, back to Judd's camp notes here. Where else do you want to go?
Oh yeah, one more note before we get to Phil and the Mr. Mankato.
That's right.
The rankings. Brandon Powell. Just to clear this up. So I was watching the practice, and actually because the practice last night was in the stadium, I could be in the press box and watch it from up top. Brandon Powell is still receiver 3. It's very clear. They start off, if it's a 2 receiver set, obviously it's Jefferson and Addison. But when they went to 3, it was Powell first, Naylor after him. So so if you are, I think that ultimately opening day, I would not be surprised if Jalen Naylor is receiver 3. But for right now, just going back to my notes, Brandon Powell has the 3rd spot.
Okay. All right. Do you want the Mr. Mankato power rankings here?
Yes.
This is just according to me. Now, you've been the eyes and the ears on the ground at practice every single day. I have dropped into a handful of practices. So if you want to correct me on some of these, this is from my own eyes, watching the preseason game.
Sure.
Also from just reports from those that are on the ground even more than I am. Updated Mr. Mankato power rankings. I'll just start with number 1. I think with a bullet, Jalen Naylor is leading the Mr. Mankato competition. And maybe you missed the Mr. Mankato episode from 2 or 3 weeks ago. So just to over-explain this, we launched the Mr. Mankato competition in air quotes. I think it was 10 years ago now on our old 1500 ESPN radio show, the Mackey and Judd show.
You might have caught
Adam Thielen was the first. Yeah, you may or may not have heard it on.
You might not have heard it.
Yeah. But Adam Thielen was the first recipient of the Mr. Mankato Award back in 2014-15. We're looking to highlight under-the-radar performers at Vikings training camp. 3rd-round picks or later, non-established NFL players, and by that we mean never more than 100 snaps in a season and 3 years of NFL game experience or less. So like Jalen Naylor was right on the border because he played 94 snaps in a season at one point.
Yeah.
So there was some controversy that we even included him, but he did qualify based on our criteria. So he's number 1. I mean, he has fit right in as a comfortable target in practices. Sam Darnold was all over Jalen Naylor, and even JJ McCarthy's first pass went to Jalen Naylor when he came out. So
Yeah.
he's number 1, right?
Okay.
I've got Tristan Jackson in the number 2 spot right now for going 4 catches, 100 yards in the preseason. He's flashed in the practices too, and they're looking to fill out maybe a 5th and a 6th spot, and I think he's the 5th receiver right now.
In fact, with McCarthy out last night in the stadium practice, Mullins got a ton of reps, not surprisingly. And in the team drills, they did another late game drill. Mullins was all over Tristan Jackson. Bang, bang, bang. I mean, so yeah, he is definitely flashed. Let's just say, yeah, I think I think his end of the competition to try to earn a spot on the 53 is done. I think that he is solidly on that.
Yeah. Now, there actually, if you guys haven't seen the full film breakdown of JJ McCarthy from JT O'Sullivan, another former Vikings camp quarterback, on the QB School YouTube channel, he did like a 30-minute breakdown of JJ McCarthy and all the drives and throws. And the interception was bad, but he criticized Tristan Jackson just as much for the bad route, for not. So that pass is supposed to, that connection is supposed to take place earlier in the progression.
Yeah.
And when it became obvious that McCarthy was being flushed out to the right, Tristan Jackson needs to like cut that route off and come back toward McCarthy.
Interesting.
And instead he was bending it out further, and he didn't give McCarthy an angle. Now McCarthy can't throw that pass.
Right.
So equal criticism.
So that's cool because Orlovsky did a breakdown of that play as well, and he said the pass should have gone deeper. So because then the Raiders cornerback, I think it was Jones, can't undercut the route, which is what he did.
Well,
so,
either way, when it turns into a scramble drill,
how interesting is that?
You either have to go deep or you have to cut the route off. And Tristan Jackson kind of just floated, and he was floating away from McCarthy.
That's great stuff, though. That's so interesting.
Other than that, though, Tristan Jackson had a great preseason game, over 100 yards. Okay, number 3, Mr. Mankato Power Rankings. My guy, Bo Richter.
Okay.
He's been flashing in some practices.
Yep.
Undrafted free agent from Air Force. And to collect a sack and a TFL, and I've seen a lot of Vikings fans sort of picking up on him on social media too, for whatever that's worth. So Bo Richter, I'm curious to see what your edge rusher room looks like on the 53-man roster projection later today, because he feels like he's right on the borderline there. Number 4, some of it's his play on the field, coupled with his avatar, his personality, his motor. I think Levi Drake Rodriguez is up to number 4 right now.
He's made a splash.
Mm-hmm.
As advertised.
So it's the presentation too. It's like professional wrestling.
As advertised.
You got long hair and a cool outfit, maybe
Face
some
paint.
face paint. People are going to notice you more.
Johnny Randall face paint.
Yeah.
So is he like the Otis of WWE?
He is kind of like Otis. He's
Kind of like
I think-
Otis?
But Otis is more of like
More
kind of a
Otis is pretty
punchline
over.
character.
Yeah.
And Levi Drake Rodriguez is less of a punchline and more of a punch you in the mouth.
Right. He'll punch you character.
Yeah. Like I could see Levi Drake Rodriguez in the Bloodline. With
Okay.
Roman Reigns.
He'd be a good
Okay.
wrestler.
Yeah.
He would be a good wrestler.
Number 5, Big Leg Bill. Walk-off Will Reichert.
Yep. He deserves it.
He already won the kicking job a week into camp, and then he kicks a game winner in the first preseason game. What's not to love?
Yep.
And then a guy who I think a week ago would have maybe been second or third on this list, but you can't make the club in a tub. Gabriel Murphy, undrafted free agent edge rusher from UCLA.
It's unfortunate.
He was flashing the first week of practice, but now he's been out.
Feels like also Andre Carter has kind of fallen off too.
Yeah.
We talked about him on Purple Daily on Draft yesterday, and it just, I don't know if that experiment's ever really going to live up to maybe the fun potential that it had this time last year.
Yeah, I can't say too much because I don't want to jeopardize the intrigue and interest that I know I'll be bringing to the 53. But
You don't want to jeopardize the integrity of the 53-man roster.
But I will
projections,
say that I agree with the PDOD guys that that Carter has not flashed, in my opinion.
Yeah. So these are my 6. This is my Mr. Mankato power ranking bubble right now. Are there any other players that you feel like should be in this conversation? There's still 2 preseason games, couple weeks of the joint practices. There's still a lot to, actually, what's his name? Dwight McLaughlin
That's what I
probably
was about to
deserves.
ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would be below those guys.
Okay.
But
That makes
in
sense. That
the
makes sense,
fringes
though.
of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fringes. Yeah.
It's probably more by default, but like it feels like he might secure one of the last cornerback spots, which is a great story for a UDFA to obviously do.
You'll have to wait and see.
You'll have to wait for the 3.0 53-man roster.
The 3.0 will address that. I feel like if any of those corners, like those fringe guys, were like doing what Tristan Jackson is, they'd be playing more. Like it's wide open there. Like McLaughlin's got some first team run, but they brought in 5 guys now since training camp started. As we discussed, that room is very fluid, would be the word.
But I also feel like cornerbacks are kind of like, Judd, when you and I have watched so many like hockey games and players make their debut, and if you're not noticeable, it's actually a good thing. Like you're not creating turnovers, you're not putting yourself or your team in bad positions. I feel like sometimes, especially like cornerbacks trying to make the roster, it's not necessarily making the interceptions and making big plays. It's doing the unnoticeable things that are sometimes hard to
Yeah, like
quantify.
Andrew Booth Jr. was very noticeable the first 3 or 4 days of practice because he was getting targeted aggressively and getting burned. So, and to that point, it's kind of funny when we were looking at like where Stefan Gilmore ranks among cornerbacks. And a lot of the top cornerbacks just aren't being targeted because they're awesome.
Yeah.
Not that Dwight McLaughlin is in that category. They're staying away from undrafted free agent Dwight McLaughlin, but he's on the fringes of the conversation. So those are your Mr. Mankato power rankings.
Okay. I would say, try to think if I disagree like on the ranking of any of them, but I think it's fair. Because like the games have to hold more weight, especially like for interior defensive guys.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard for them to flash in practices. They can't hit the QB. There's so many rules against them. So I feel like what Richter did against the Raiders on Saturday, like that's an eye-opener because that one you can play right through the whistle.
Through the echo of the whistle.
Echo of the whistle.
Yeah. He looks bigger. Everyone does, but he looks bigger than I thought while wearing pads. Like when he's out there in shorts and shells at practice, he's not as you can see why maybe he went undrafted, but then he straps on the Vikings uniform and the actual shoulder pads. Okay, you can see a
get him a neck roll and those 1990s huge shoulder pads, and he'll look real big. I love those old shoulder pads. You watch those old games.
Love it.
We will wrap with this. Highlights from the practice. Now, this practice was supposed to be held a week ago Monday in full pads. It was going to be more competitive, but because it got pushed back a week because of rain, and the Vikings played a game on Saturday, had a day off, then a practice, and then are going to Cleveland for 2 very intense days of practice, a day off, and then a game. The practice was in shorts and shells. It was not, how can I put this nicely? It was not overly competitive because they don't want to wear the players down completely. But I do have some highlights for you. First of all, and I saw this one floating around Twitter because while we can't shoot practices, nothing is stopping the fans from. Sam Darnold in a team drill picked off by Andrew Van Ginkel on a pass that was supposed to be a quick hitter to Justin Jefferson. Van Ginkel made a nice play. Like this again goes to the change in rush ends from like the bigger guys like Hunter who got after it to speedier guys. Van Ginkel made a nice play. He returned it for a touchdown. He probably in the real world gets tackled, but it was
highly doubtful.
Darnold very upset with himself. Immediately you could see from how he reacted, but it was a nice play. So you don't like to see it from Darnold. That being said, you like to see it, especially from a guy who's coming back from a fairly severe foot injury, Van Ginkel with that play.
Yeah, just remember who told you all about Andrew Van Ginkel and all the mocking and ridiculing
when
I
give you more
unveiled my
credit for
top
Bo
20
Richter
current Vikings.
Well, yeah, you put him way too high.
I put him fifth. Okay, I put him fifth.
We'll find out.
We'll
find out.
Who are you? He's certainly higher now than he was a week ago. After watching him prance into the end zone. By the end of the season, you'll all find out.
We'll see.
You'll all find out.
We'll see.
I will not stand for this Andrew Van Ginkel slander on Purple Daily. The gangster. The gank man.
Okay, so what we had at the end of practice, though, was 1:05 left on the clock. The offense trailing 21-20. 1 timeout left. This drill was run by Sam Darnold with the first team. It was good versus good, ones versus ones. And then it was run by Mullins, and then it was done, so Jaren Hall did not get this drill. But I want to take you through the Darnold experience, okay? The Darnold experience probably more instructive. The Mullins one starts with a penalty. It gets sort of goofy. But anyway, so 1st and 10, offense's 35-yard line shotgun. Darnold for Brandon Powell. I think a route was run wrong because the ball went sailing to no one. The receiver was trying to come back for it.
Jets fans are like, I think everyone ran the right route.
Yeah. I'm not going to blame the quarterback because sometimes it's the receiver goes zigs instead of zags. All right, so it's 2nd and 10, ball still at the offense's 35-yard line. Crossing pattern pass to Justin Jefferson. Slightly behind him. He tips it as he tries to catch it. Probably should have been picked by Cam Bynum, who was standing there. He couldn't corral the ball. But now the clock is down to 55.7 seconds left. Darnold is 0 for 2, and this goes back to the chemistry, which last week looked great between Darnold and Jefferson. But that crossing pattern, man, bread and butter route. It's a hard pass to throw. McCarthy threw it a couple of times, at least once, really well on Saturday. And it's
his first pass was beautiful, and it was Jalen Naylor coming across.
Yeah, and it looks when it's in sync, it looks great, but when it's not. And like Jefferson's, he's going through, he's coming through, he's buzzing through. The ball has to be there, and instead it's just here, and it looks like a drop, but it's a two-pronged problem.
Yeah.
It's a Darnold problem too.
Yeah, it's. I would say that when you're in shorts and shells too, the offense should be dominating the defense, because the defense, first of all, they can't lean into you on the line of scrimmage as much because you're not banging and clanging with pads. Yep. Sometimes you don't see guys getting blown up over the middle, but there's more contact and more physicality when they're wearing pads. So, yeah, I need to hear some offense domination here for me to feel good about last night's practice.
Okay, now it's 3rd and 10. Offense is 35. The ball has not moved yet. Shotgun, Sam Darnold. Deep right side, not a bomb, but deep, I'd say 15 yards or so. Right side pass. Complete to Brandon Powell, who is actually pushed down. He was pushed down by Byron Murphy Jr. Not going to surprise you, he got beat on that play. But at least it's a completion. So now Darnold is 1 of 3. That's a first down, and it takes it from, according to my notes, the offense is 35 to the defense's 35. Darnold now stops the clock with a spike. So the clock is going ticking. Powell did not get out of bounds, if that was not obvious. Clock stopped. 2nd and 10, defense's 35. Old reliable. Darnold to Jalen Naylor. 25.6 seconds left. Bang the timeout. Bang that timeout.
Love it.
Okay.
What's the score here?
21-20, defense leads. Just need a field goal.
So you just need a field goal. So we're in range now. I mean, we're...
Correct. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, again, I'm hoping it stalls completely because I want to see the aforementioned Big Leg Bill.
Yeah.
But it does not stall completely. But we do have a problem. On 3rd and 5 from the defense's 30-yard line, incomplete pass from Darnold to Munt. Defense jumped off sides, though. So now we got a break. So now it's 1st and 10 from the 25. 16.5 seconds left. Handoff to Ty Chandler. Gets 2 yards.
Love it.
Now
Stick your nose in there.
Now it's 2nd and 8 from the defense's 23. Spike the ball. Stop the clock. 3 seconds left. This is actually going well now. Big Leg Bill trots out there. 40 yards out. Bang! 24-20, 21, or 23-21.
All this dude does is walk off Will in back-to-back preseason and practice.
I got more for you too. So
did they run Jaron Hall out there to practice spiking the football at all last night, or
no? He didn't get on the field.
Do you guys remember that? Like he almost had a Kirk Cousins Washington moment. Remember that play where Kirk Cousins took a knee instead of spiking it in Washington?
Correct, he did.
Dude, like the referee had to talk to Jaron Hall after and be like, dude, you just spike it.
Darnold also appears to suffer from that affliction a little bit. When he spiked the ball, he's, of course, not in shotgun, under center, gets the ball, takes a few steps back, and spikes it. You don't need to take a few steps back.
You can do that to kill clock, though.
Right. But I'm saying you just need to get the ball, take half a step and spike it.
Sometimes they do that, though, to run a couple seconds off. Jaron Hall, went halfway down to a knee and blanked out.
Yeah.
And then realized.
I know, but I mean, it looks easy when it's executed correctly, which I think is like a step, a half a step, and bang.
Are the spiking yips a thing?
Yep.
You know, sometimes a catcher can't throw the ball back to the pitcher.
I think it's such a foreign concept that you actually have to practice it a lot.
Sam Darnold playing for the Jets and the Panthers is like, I've never been in a situation where I've been close enough at the end of a game to worry about this.
But yeah, Hall freaked out. And of course, Kirk took a knee in Washington. And before that, unfortunately, got under the right guard in San Francisco.
That's right.
But we don't want to talk about that. People are very upset that we still bring up Kirk.
Oh, man.
I'm not going to take you through the whole Mullins 2 versus 2 because it's not that exciting and there were penalties and he hasn't played much, so it's very clear that he's got to get on the same page. As far as things go. I saw at least a couple of flags. In fact, the first play that he tried to execute, there was a penalty called. So they got backed up. Anyway, the good thing is the drive did stall out. 51-yard field goal attempt. Big leg Bill.
For the win.
21-20. Defense leads. Here comes Reichert. Snap. Set. Kick. Good! Big leg Bill did it again.
Wow. Has he missed a game-winning field goal in these drills yet?
Unless he missed, I don't know what so the Tuesday that we did our Park Tavern event, I couldn't go to practice because of that, and he did miss 2 that day. I think it was just a kickoff thing at the end of practice. So I think the answer is no. They did bring Big Leg Bill back on for 4 kicks just to end practice.
From 72, 78,
so
and
here's
then
what I got.
80, right?
33 yards, good. 41 yards, good. I have him, and I don't know if I misread this one. Back-to-back 48-yarders, both good. I'm not sure the second one might have been 50 or something, but I think it was back-to-back 48-yard field goal attempts. Anyway,
and blindfolded on both, right?
6 of 6 last night. 6 of 6.
Pretty impressive.
6 of 6 last night.
Love
You
it,
know
man.
what's great? You can have a rookie kicker with a big leg if you don't have a coach who's an a-hole to him.
Yeah, let them feel comfortable. They're basically just golfers with strong legs.
Yeah.
They just need a caddy that's not going to get in their heads, you know.
Exactly.
Just like, you know, if you're a homeowner, you might just need a company like KS Drywall to come in and provide some fixing for you, whether it's full drywall repair, plaster repair, popcorn ceiling texture removal, which we'll talk about in a moment, and interior painting services as well. KS Drywall services the greater Twin Cities metro and western Wisconsin. Their crew is professional, courteous, and clean, quality craftsmanship. So on that popcorn texture removal, now Judd has that in his home studio.
Right above me.
It helps with the acoustics. But, you know, if you're looking to sell your home, older homes often have that popcorn ceiling that's just not aesthetically pleasing. It's from like the 1950s and 70s. I'm sure Judd's making it work just fine in his office. But if you plan to sell that home someday,
Disco ball above me.
yeah. Well, they could maybe install a disco ball, too, if you ask nicely at KS Drywall. Not sure. But they'll get rid of that popcorn ceiling and spruce up your home so you can put it on the market. And like I said, painting services, fantastic. Head over to ksdrywall.com to schedule a free estimate. You can also find them on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Easy for me to say. KS Drywall. Okay, what are we looking forward to here the rest of the week? Or do we have any more camp notes?
No.
That was it, right? Big Leg
Yep.
Bill?
Oh,
Okay.
no, no.
So
Perfect.
I feel like this is the biggest week of camp because the joint practice tells you a lot.
Yep.
Obviously, in this particular case, if JJ McCarthy does or doesn't play, it probably determines officially who the week 1 starting quarterback is. But
Right.
this is a big week here, the next 5 days or so.
Yeah, I think in modern day camps now, there's nothing more important, especially if you can do them right without fighting, than joint practices. Like that's become the preseason game because coaches can control it, but yet it's against an opponent with officials there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think that this is the most important week. This is the first time in the O'Connell tenure that they've done a joint practice that was not here. They did 2. In fact, O'Connell said one of the reasons why the starters didn't play a year ago in the preseason games at all was because they did 2 joint practices. I think they had the Titans and Cardinals in, and so that alleviated, in his mind, the need to play his starters at all in the preseason. But I think Wednesday and Thursday are incredibly important, and I would agree with your assessment. If JJ McCarthy does not practice, I think we go from this is interesting at least, but we expect Sam to start to Sam is going to start, which at the end of the day might be the best thing. I want to watch the kid
I'm fine
play.
with that.
I just want to watch the kid play and practice in camp. That's why I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It'd be great to see him in a live practice setting against Cleveland. It'd be great to see him in another preseason game. But I think there's some intrigue in Sam Darnold too. It's too bad. Like Nick Mullins comes out and people go. That's like when people go to the concession stand during the night practice. Like, we already kind of know what he is.
Right.
But there's still some intrigue in JJ McCarthy in Sam Darnold too, like in the short term. Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with just taking the safe route here. By the way, we can maybe incorporate this as a closing segment on some of these Purple Daily shows. What are people saying about the Vikings? We mentioned the JT O'Sullivan breakdown on the QB School YouTube channel. Chase Daniel also did a breakdown of JJ McCarthy. And he said on Twitter, the two rookie quarterbacks who looked the most pro-ready through the first week of the preseason, and it's not really close, Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy.
Interesting. So I didn't watch it. I have read good reviews of Bo Nix in Denver on Sunday.
So I went back. I found a clip of all of Bo Nix's plays. You can find these just floating around on Twitter.
Geek.
It felt to me like, as advertised, where in college he was a check down and short pass merchant. And that's kind of what he was in the clips. And if you go and dig deeper in the stats, I think he was like 2 for 7 on balls that traveled more than 9 yards in the air. But he was like 13 of 14 on the short passes and the behind the line of scrimmage stuff. I think JT O'Sullivan had a quip on Twitter. If you're into checkdowns, throwing off base when you could set your feet instead and something else, you're going to love Bo Nix.
Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem.
So I don't know. It's just.
And Drake May barely played.
I think he had 3 dropbacks or something.
Yeah, I think he had a series, which I also don't totally get. Like, I'm
super weird, man.
In that case, why are you, unless he's going to start, like, what are you protecting him from? Experience?
Dude, this is why we advise the Patriots.
I know, and people were like, you always take the quarterback. Not if you're going to ruin him, you don't.
Not if you don't have a good enough roster and infrastructure to prop him up.
And how many draft picks could they have gotten? Like, if they had taken the Vikings offer, how many valuable picks could they have helped their team with?
But this is how I think it wound up working out better for the Vikings. You know, obviously, they were aggressive in trying to pursue Drake May, but wouldn't you rather have a good quarterback and keep these first-round picks? Now you get Dallas Turner. You have a first-round pick next year to get. It's a defensive tackle draft. You know, I think the Vikings were maybe saved from themselves in this particular case. And good luck to Drake May with that infrastructure. Yeah, and by the way, that reactionary, impatient media and fan base too. The entitlement that they've.
What are you talking? Hey,
dude.
Hey, Drake May, you suck. I'm going to watch the Sox.
So good luck to him. Judd's camp notes. Pretty good stuff here today. Good stuff. We'll have a 53-man roster 3.0 projection that will also drop today, and then tomorrow write that down, predictions and an accountability session, and we'll keep an eye on the joint practices too throughout the week in Cleveland. For Thursday, Thor Nystrom back in the mix every Thursday.
At practice last night, very disappointed not to see his boy.
Yeah, he said he was just going to sit at practice and watch JJ McCarthy highlights on his phone since he wasn't playing. Daily Vikings entertainment, news, updates, Judd's camp notes. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.